I'm here with this rad, and today we're going to be talking all about your toe stops. This is part 2 in our 4-part series on getting to know your skates. So our toe stops can help us stop on a dime and maneuver with precision on our toes. The toe stop screws into the housing on your plate, and depending on your setup, it may secure with a washer and a nut, or in this case with a set screw or lock screw. So I loosen it with a 5mm Allen wrench, and once it's loose I can unscrew the toe stop. Okay, it's out. Every time I remove my toe stops, I clean out the housing because it gets really grimy in there. I use a cheap paintbrush, but a toothbrush would also work. And you're just going to want to get any grit out of there. And then if I'm not replacing with a new toe stop, I also clean the stem of my toe stop. And that's because whenever this is screwing in, it's metal on metal, and if there's any grit in there, it's going to act like sandpaper and start to wear away your threads. And you want to protect the threads in your housing, because if they ever get stripped, that's a really hard situation to come back from. What will happen is your toe stop is going to start unscrewing itself while you're skating or come out. And then if that happens, people have tried using industrial grade adhesives like Loctite, and Loctite can glue in your toe stop with the power of 100 monkeys, and it might not ever come out again. And then another option would be to rethread or re-tap the housing, and that's still never going to take it back to its original situation, because even rethreading it is going to make the housing a little bit larger than it was before, so you're still going to have the problem with your toe stop coming out. So bottom line, just a minute of your time can keep this threaded for the life of your plate. Toe stops come in different hardnesses and also different shapes, and you just want to experiment and find what works for you. The harder ones are going to have more durability, and then the softer ones might have a bit more bounce or rebound. This one comes pre-shaped, so there isn't a break-in period, which I love. And then this one from Rowline has little holes in it that are meant to give it extra rebound. I skate outdoors a lot, so I like the harder toe stops because they last longer for me. And then toe stops also have 2 different size stems. Some of them are long, or it can also be short. This is a long. If you have a long stem, one thing to be aware of is my stem is actually longer than my housing, so I could theoretically keep screwing it, and it would actually come into contact with the bottom sole of my boot, and I could screw it in so tight that it would actually start to put a lot of pressure on my sole, and you don't want that. So if you have a long one, you want to take care not to screw it in all the way to the end. And then if it was a short one, it would end right about here. And the issue with that is if you have a short stem and you like your toe stops really low, the tendency would be to only screw them into the threading a little bit. And then the problem with that is when you're skating and you put pressure on it, it's going to put a lot of strain on the bottom threads of your housing and can really damage the housing. So if you do happen to like your toe stops very low, you're going to probably want to go with a longer stem, because either way you want to screw in about at least 1 centimeter of your stem to make sure that it's in there nice and tight. Lastly, I often get asked how low we should have our toe stops. As a general rule, when your toe stop is on the ground, you should be able to fit 3 or 4 fingers underneath your rear wheel. So I'm at like 3.5. The tendency is for a lot of skaters to have their toe stops too high, and the problem with that is it's going to fully extend your leg, so you're not going to have much spring or power left there, and also we have a lot less control when we're up high. So having it lower means that you're going to be able to have a bend in your leg, and that's going to give you more spring and power. And also in roller derby, we want to be able to pop on and off our toe stops really quickly. You want to be able to get up there and then get back down into your edges. It might take you a practice or 2 to get used to it if you've been having your toe stops up high, but it's going to make a big difference in your skating. Alright, that's it for this episode. Tune in to our next video. We'll be talking about wheels and bearings.